A janitor named Ronald Reed left behind $8 million when he died in 2014. $8 million. He never had a high-paying job, never won the lottery, and never inherited a cent. He swept floors and pumped gas for a living, and quietly bought stocks for over 65 years. Meanwhile, plenty of Wall Street professionals with finance degrees and six-figure salaries end up broke. So what separates a janitor with $8 million from a banker with nothing left? It's not intelligence, it's not connections, it's behavior. Morgan Housel put it perfectly in his book The Psychology of Money. Investing success isn't a hard science, it's a soft skill, and how you behave with money matters more than how much you know about it. Stick with me for the next 15 minutes because these 5 lessons could change how you think about money forever.
Welcome to Money and Market, the channel that breaks down investing in the stock market in plain English. No jargon, no fluff. Today, we're pulling apart 5 of the most powerful ideas from The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, one of the most talked about finance books of the last decade. These aren't tips about which stock to buy or when to buy it. They're deeper lessons about how your mind works around money. And once you understand them, you'll make better decisions almost automatically. Let's get into lesson number 1. Lesson 1. Volatility is the entry fee. Think of the stock market like an amusement park. You don't get the thrill of the ride without standing in line first. In investing, that line is volatility, and if you want market-beating returns, you have to pay for them in stomach-churning drops. Concentrated, high-conviction portfolios tend to produce the best long-term returns, but they also swing the hardest. Imagine you had bought Tesla in 2010 and held it all the way through. You'd be sitting on a fortune today. But could you have handled the stock losing 60% of its value during the 2020 pandemic crash, or watching it fall 73% from its late 2021 peak by the end of 2022? Most people say yes in theory and panic sell in practice. That panic is the real cost of high returns, not a fee you pay in dollars, but one you pay in sleepless nights. Here's the data to back it up. Since 1980, the S&P 500 has fallen 20% or more from a previous high 6 separate times, in 1980, in 1987, during the dot-com crash of the early 2000s, during the 2008 financial crisis, during the 2020 COVID crash, and again in 2022. Some of those recoveries took months. Others took years. That's not a rare bad stretch. That's the normal cost of doing business in the market. Stock investing is one of the most reliable ways ordinary people build real wealth, but it was never advertised as smooth. The mistake most beginners make is expecting the ride without the drops, then bailing out the moment turbulence hits, locking in losses that would have recovered if they just stayed seated. Before you invest a single dollar, ask yourself honestly, can I watch this account drop 20, 30, even 40% and not touch it? If the answer is no, you need either a less aggressive portfolio or a lot more patience training before you start. Lesson 2. The finish line that keeps moving. Here's a strange truth about money. You can hand someone a $2 million bonus and they'll be thrilled, until they discover their coworker got $2,100,000. Then suddenly they feel like a failure. Capitalism is incredible at creating wealth, but it's just as good at creating envy. Picture a successful doctor earning $500,000 a year, comfortably in the top 1% of earners in the country. He should feel set for life, but then he buys a vacation home next door to a hedge fund manager pulling in $10 million a year, and suddenly his own success feels small. The hedge fund manager, meanwhile, has a friend who's a tech founder worth $2 billion, and next to that fortune, $10 million a year looks unremarkable. There is always a bigger number one comparison away. This chase for more has ruined more portfolios and more lives than almost anything else in finance. People take on leverage they can't afford to catch up to a neighbor. People trade on information they shouldn't have to close the gap faster. People work 80-hour weeks and lose their families chasing a number that was never going to satisfy them anyway, because there's always someone richer one rung up the ladder. The fix isn't to stop being ambitious, it's to define your own finish line before someone else's life makes you forget you ever had one. Decide today what enough actually looks like for you, in writing if you have to, and treat crossing that line as a real celebrated win, not just a pit stop on the way to comparing yourself to the next person up. Lesson 3. Nobody's playing your game. Some money decisions look crazy from the outside, but most people don't act crazy. They act on the information and options they've actually got. which are often nothing like yours. Take lottery tickets. In the U.S., low-income households spend 4 times more on them every year than high-income households do. Sounds reckless, especially since a third of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency. But flip the lens for a second. No degree, no savings, no real shot at a bigger paycheck? A lottery ticket stops being math. It becomes the cheapest ticket into a dream that already feels out of reach. Not smart, not exactly, but not crazy either, not once you see their world instead of yours.
This matters for your own investing too, because everyone around you is playing a different game. A retired billionaire and a 25-year-old just starting out. They should never run the same portfolio, even if they follow the same guy online. The billionaire is playing defense, protecting what he already built. You're probably playing offense, trying to build wealth for the first time. Copy his cautious portfolio, and you could end up massively underinvested for decades. Same logic applies to trends. You don't need to chase every hot stock or crypto pump just because it's loud online. Know your goals, know your timeline. Then you can look at the noise and calmly say, "That's not my game," and walk right past it. Lesson 4. You cannot see the next crisis coming. The Great Depression, World War II, the 2008 crash, the 2020 pandemic crash. Every one of these reshaped the market, and every single one was almost impossible to predict in advance. Economist Nassim Taleb has a name for this: black swan events. Extreme, unseen, and somehow always obvious after the fact. Here's why this matters to you. Stay invested in the S&P 500 for 20 years, and your money grows by roughly 290%. Miss just the 10 best trading days in that same stretch, often because you panic sold near the bottom, your return gets cut, sometimes by more than half. So don't try harder to predict the next crash. Even professional economists fail at that, consistently. Instead, prepare for the fact that a shock is coming, you just don't know what or when. That means an emergency fund, so you're never forced to sell at the worst possible moment. It means avoiding heavy debt, the kind that could wipe you out during a downturn. And it means building a portfolio you can actually survive holding, emotionally, through a crisis you never saw coming. Because the next one is guaranteed, and it's guaranteed to look nothing like the last one. Lesson 5. Doom sells better than hope. Tell you the market's about to crash because of debt, inflation, geopolitics, you'd nod along, feel a little worried. Tell you it'll keep climbing instead because life expectancy is rising, computing power is getting cheaper, clean energy costs are falling. You'd probably shrug, scroll past it. Pessimists sound like geniuses. Optimists sound naive. Why? Psychologist Daniel Kahneman has the answer: loss aversion. We feel losses almost twice as intensely as equivalent gains. It's evolutionary wiring. The ancestors who treated every rustle in the bushes as a predator survived longer than the ones who assumed it was nothing.
There's another reason doom sells. Setbacks happen fast. Progress happens painfully slow. A market can crash 20% in a week. That's a dramatic headline. But compounding your money over 20 years, quiet, boring, gradual. It never makes the news. So the media stays biased toward fear because fear grabs attention. Steady progress doesn't. Next time you see a scary headline predicting the next crash, remember this: pessimism is persuasive by design, not necessarily correct. And the long run of investing has quietly rewarded patient optimists far more than it's ever rewarded the loudest doomsayer. Let's bring it together. 1. Volatility isn't a bug, it's the price you pay for real returns. 2. Define your own finish line, because chasing more never ends. There's always a bigger number. 3. Everyone's playing a different game. Stop copying strategies that don't match your goals. 4. You'll never predict the next crisis, so prepare for the shock instead. 5. Pessimism will always sound smarter, even though patient optimism has paid off far better historically. None of this tells you which stock to buy tomorrow, but master these 5 and you'll behave like an investor who actually gets to keep their money long enough to become wealthy.
That's the book in 5 lessons. Honestly, this barely scratches the surface. The psychology of money is genuinely worth reading, cover to cover. If this helped you see investing a little differently, hit subscribe. Money and Market puts out videos like this every week, breaking down the ideas that actually move the needle for your money. Want to go deeper on the psychology side of investing? Check out the video on screen right now. See you in the next one.